What's good, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Large and Conditioning. Science-based content creators have one huge problem. And this problem is that basically every single week, or something that almost seems like every single week, it sounds like they're changing the tune to what exercise you should do, how many sets you should be doing, how many reps you should be doing, your rest times, training intensity, so on and so forth. All these different variables. And it leaves a lot of people confused because all this nuance, well, there are nuances to your training that you can actually use. For most people, especially when you're starting out, you don't need to have this drastic nuance in your training approach. You just need, honestly, good effort in being consistent. And at first, you don't need to think about all these different variations. Just like if we take bench press as an example, we have quite few different variations of the bench press just with the barbell alone, and just that by itself can be more than enough to actually confuse and discourage people from training. And this is a problem because people get confused because they think there are far too many things that you can actually do or should do, or maybe they should be doing something that they aren't. These things creates a problem, and that becomes a hurdle. And the moment you start creating hurdles for most people, that's also the moment you gonna start giving up. So this is a huge problem that science-based content creators actually have. They may have good intentions with just providing the best information possible or trying to paint the picture that there are multiple different approaches, but they never really talk about how there are different approaches. They always report these studies as being the end-all, be-all. They always come out and say, hey, this new study, it proves this is the one true way to train, that you should be doing 52 sets of Lincoln postures, and then 2 weeks later, it's like, hey, new study, you need to be doing 1 set per muscle group per training, all out and going balls to the walls beyond failure. And just going to failure by itself, if you haven't built your technical aspect in an exercise, if you're trying to go to failure, you're just gonna teach your body the wrong movement patterns and you will potentially just get injured. They're not helping you with actually building your base, and your base is learning the foundational movements, and that's what you need to learn first. I'm not saying that you have to have complete mastery over some movements before you actually learn the different variations, because here's the thing: if you just learn a certain movement, just like with the example of a bench press, if you just learn how to do a bench press semi-decent, learning other bench press variations is going to be extremely easy because you have built the foundation of the movement. It's not going to be that drastically different. As an example, if you have learned how to do a bench press normally, doing a wider grip or more narrow grip bench press, that's not going to be all that drastically different from what you have already learned. Same if you have learned how to do an incline bench. If you do switch to a narrow grip, it's not going to be that drastic difference in what you're going to have to do. So once you have learned basically just the regular bench press and the setup of that, when you have learned that, you can actually extrapolate that information to other bench press variations, and then you can actually start doing other variations. But you should, fundamentally speaking, learn just a regular bench press first. Then you start learning the variations, and then over time you basically unlock different variations that you can do that will target specific weaknesses. And this is something that you really actually should be focusing on, rather than am I doing too much, or am I doing too little, am I training hard enough, so on and so forth. The good thing about basically being brand new is anything you do is gonna help you. Sure, some things may help you a little bit more. However, when you're just starting out, you just need to do the core basics. That's it. You don't have to try to make things more complicated or trying to learn a bunch of different variations as first. Like I said, you just need to learn the fundamental movement first. We have 6 major movements that we do as a human: squat, pull, drop. Mm. We have 6 major movement patterns that we will perform basically throughout our life. And you need to just actually get an understanding of these 6 major movements in the first place, and then over time you can actually learn different kind of variations. The 6 basic major movements is squat, hip hinge, lunge, push pull, and carry. These are our 6 basic movements as a human being. And the carry is actually quite often neglected, because specifically people are looking at just purely how much muscle can I build or how efficiently can I build it. And things like carries are never actually taken into consideration, even though loaded carries is actually one of the things that can actually help you build a lot of muscle. But it's in a more isometric fashion that you would actually build these muscles that you actually have. If we take the farmer carry as an example, it would actually be a great carryover to your deadlift. There's actually a pretty good rule of thumb that I learned quite a few years ago. If you cannot farmer carry your deadlift, you have work to do. Obviously, there's differences in this. If you are a person that deadlifts 400 kilograms plus, you will probably not be able to do that in the first place. But if you are, good on you. But most people should very much be able to do a farmer walk with their weight that they can deadlift. So you can deadlift 4 or 5, then you need to be able to farmer carry 4 or 5 as well, at the bare minimum. And we're not talking specifically in terms of your 1 repetition maximum, but if it is your 1 repetition maximum, then it's going to be a little bit different. In terms of being able to farmer carry your deadlift, I would much rather gauge it from your 5 rep maximum, because that's going to be a lot more realistic, and also because doing a heavy single is very skill specific. And doing something very skill specific and then trying to scale it to a farmer walk is just not going to be that well off. Whereas if you pick a 5 rep max or 10 rep max, you should very much be able to do a farmer carry with that weight for 20 to 30 meters at the bare minimum. So this is a movement pattern that you actually should learn, and we have a bunch of other type of carries and all the other movements that were mentioned. You need to learn the basic fundamental movement patterns, and then you can learn different variations. And science-based content creators never teach you this, ever. Thanks for watching, and last conditioning, signing out.